So the mindfulness in the brain. Okay, so the brain, what is the brain? The brain is a integrated neural network. And so the brain's communicating with the mind, and then the mind's communicating with our body. But what we've learned in the last 10 years of mindfulness research is as we alter our mind through mindfulness practice and various forms of meditation, we directly can alter the pathways in our brain, which then alter the brain-mind molecular pathways in the body. So if you want to change your brain, you change your mind through meditation or yogic practices. And if you want to change your mind, you do practices that directly change and alter the brain. So in mindfulness practice, we're working on coming into the moment. And how do we do that? We come into the moment with an awareness of the in-breath, the out-breath, or the rising and the falling of the breath. Mindfulness fosters a clear sense of seeing, as well as open capacity and quality to hear. So that over time, I've been practicing mindfulness for about 42 years. And I would say each and every day, the more that I sit, and the more that I practice, the clearer and also the more non-reactive I become. In contemplative neuroscience, there's an institute called the Mind and Life Institute, and was originally developed by the Dalai Lama, and then Daniel Goleman, the author of Emotional Intelligence, and a very good friend of mine from college in Amherst, Dr. Daniel Brown, who's written a lot of books on meditation. And the orientation for studying mindfulness is to become aware that as we focus our attention, we drop into a place of spaciousness. And vipassana means insight in meditation practice. So what we're gaining is not the Freudian or psychological insight into the nature of the mind, but what we're learning is how the mind functions and what is the nature and structure of the mind. So when we're practicing mindfulness, the content that emerges in our mind, like the story, the thoughts that we have, feelings, the sensation, it's not that they're irrelevant, but in mindfulness practice, we only stay with them momentarily because we want to drop into a deeper place of study and observation of how does the mind work and how does the mind affect the brain. So it's a process approach, and so mindfulness also facilitates compassion. It opens the heart. You develop attentional skills so that you can become more focused. It's very, very good if you have ADD or you have adolescents who have ADD. And over time, it facilitates a single-minded purpose. You know, and Patanjali talks about that single-minded focus of oneness. So mindfulness takes you to that place where the mind can immediately, laser-like, focus, moment by moment. It enhances the ability to monitor attention and also to develop tracking and following awareness of how the mind wanders. So when we're practicing today, wherever the mind goes, just call the attention back to the moment. So you're constantly calling the mind back into the moment, back into the breath. And this, over time, leads to insight. And again, the insight that we're talking about comes from the Pali word, sati. So sati means insight, and patana means focused concentration. So the very first sermon that the Buddha gave after his enlightenment in Bodh Gaya was in Sarnath, and it was in the Deer Park in India. And he gave it, it's called the Pali sermon. So mindfulness leads to insight, satipatthana.